Hello everyone, Parasite7 here, back with more Orange Blue T6, and this time it's going to be Super Buff Sky Shredder, beat Bloonarius. I guess this is, but I think it's the only tower that I've done that's like actually done two 5th tiers of it. I guess like Ray of Doom, but due to an editing mistake that never actually got finished. I might just actually take that video down and redo it. Anyways, on this map, it's Spillway. Spillway is actually kind of interesting, and I didn't really think, boss balloons would ever be on like this kind of map. Makes me wonder what's gonna happen for like Lich next week. So I originally wanted to do Super Buffed Elite Defenders to show off the, I guess, new +4 damage buff it got. But unfortunately, this is a terrible map for snipers. I probably could have put Elite Defender in the middle and have done something, but I just really wasn't confident at all for doing that, so I decided, just do Sky Shredder this time. So again, there's that. So this is a bit of a interesting map to do this on, as Sky Shredder, while not really terrible on this map, it does get, some, I guess, decent, just curves. Sky Shredder does do the most damage when it's like pretty much directly on top of a balloon. So, and there's really not really like a whole lot of places when that's happening. As you'll see later on, even like center path is still like most of the time it's kind of like off center, or like a bit off center of the balloon. So I guess there's that. ODS is also not really a terrible stepping stone, but it's not really like one that's really good for, I guess, just balloons in general. The SRAM clusters for tier 1, as you'll see, was very difficult to deal with. It'd also be, I guess, just kind of nice to compare to see, which one is better at being super buffed. Is it Sky Shredder or Flying Fortress? I guess you can place your bets down in the comment or something. So I guess, which tower do you think would probably be easier to super buffed against boss balloons? Flying Fortress or Sky Shredder? I'm sure there's gonna be that one mad lad that chooses Sarbomba. Alright, so tier 1. So tier 1, really the only thing I could have done is get, just like overclocked Operation Dartstorm under a 220 village and a 420 alchemist. I guess, well, this is really the most amount of buffs I'm comfortable with getting for tier 1. So here I was just like kind of evaluating the ceramic and damage, and it's not very good. So I figured that I'd probably need something for the ceramic. So looking back, I guess just like thinking back when I was recording this, I was just like, oh, glue hose was pretty good for super buffed elim, so I figured that this would probably do maybe just as good. Of course, elim also did require the help of reactor, Bloonarius reactor, but I figured that, Operation Darkstorm does have better SRAM damage than elim does, so I figured that maybe just like glue hose would be enough. Well, I ran into an issue of glue hose not really like gluing the right balloons I wanted to when they spawned immediately. I could have put it on strong, but if I put glue on strong, it would just target not what I really wanted to. So again, that was a bit of an issue of just like kind of figuring out, oh well, what do I do for ceramics? The balloon damage, of course, is pretty good, as ODS is pretty much mob damage tower. It's decent against balloons, but it's not like, I guess, the best. So I got Dissolver here in hopes that that'd be enough to beat this. I hoped that this would be enough, as top path glue is kind of meant for grouped balloons, and it just barely defended on the first wave, which did not look very good. Thankfully, I would be able to afford Liquefier by the second skull, so I was hoping that Liquefier would do a bit better here. The problem wasn't really damage, it was just glue not targeting the right things. You can see here, glue didn't even start gluing like the balloons until the third loop around, which is not ideal. So that was just like the main issue. It wasn't really necessarily damage, it was just that glue just wasn't targeting the right balloons. Putting it on strong wouldn't have helped at all. Putting it on last didn't really do much. So again, I was just kind of like, oh crap. Tier 1 ended up being the hardest tier out of I guess just all the tiers. After this, I'm easily able to afford Sky Shredder and all that. I decided to restart again from round 40, simply just because, it wasn't really good. I wasn't even sure if I could salvage that run anymore. Obviously, I wasn't going to be able to afford Sky Shredder. Maybe I could if I'd sold, like, Alchemist and Village, but I figured I didn't really need Sky Shredder for tier 1, so, again, yeah. Also, I do want some support, so there's that. So after starting for round 40, I feared that I got glue immediately, hoping that maybe it was like a timing issue or anything. I was debating whether or not I should get glue. I was seeing if bomb could fit because I do think the recursive cluster is a lot better here. So yes, there was that. I was debating if I should also go 502 glue because technically that's a better cross path, but here I feel like I kind of need the pierce. More glaives was also another option, but I felt that that would have also been too slow. Ice here, wasn't really sure why I even cut ice. I was also kind of debating making a snowstorm platform, but I can't remember what I wanted to make a platform for, so I ended up just not doing it. So again, I was just doing the same thing as last time, just hoping that this would be enough to beat the first skull of Bloonarius. So I ended up just farming in the meantime. The mob damage is strong enough. I do put glue on clothes to maybe help out. Maybe it hit the ceramics. No, it didn't. It would hit the ceramics way too late, which is a bit annoying. So after trying to get glue to work, I eventually just got to a point where I was thinking, okay, even with targeting, it's not gonna work. That's coming up surely, but even with targeting, wasn't really gonna work. We're putting on first close, last strong, which is target Bloonarius, unfortunately. So again, here I was just kind of like, I'll give it one more shot, and then depending on how it does, I won't use it. Glue did very well right there. It did hit the ceramics and absolutely decimated them, but glue just wasn't targeting the right things to where it just kind of made it, I guess, just not necessarily useless, but just like less than ideal. I think the problem was that glue was targeting the little like green balloon children that Bloonarius spawned instead of the ceramics. I guess those came out first, and so glue was trying to target those and not this ceramic wave. So after yet again dying to the ceramic cluster for the upteenth time, I figured that glue just wasn't the right choice here. I tried to see if I could fit more glaives on the barrel. Boomerang doesn't fit, so I paused the game just to think about what I should do. So after thinking for a little bit, I decided reactor would probably be the best solution here, as again reactor was what I did use for tier 1 of Elim, because I did struggle with that again. Also got glue hose Yeti as well, because just to slow down the ceramics and hopefully just do a wee bit better. Reactor did take down the ceramic cluster fairly well. I am happy with that. So from here it's just really easy. As you can see, ODS is putting in some pretty good mob damage. It actually did surprise me. I thought that the mob damage would probably be equivalent to what Churchill, super buff with Churchill. Yeah, that super buff for Churchill. Oh boy, that was a challenge there, and I couldn't even like do it legitimately. I might try that yet again, just because. So as you saw there, Ceramic Cluster for that one was a bit closer than before. Simply just because Bloonarius is farther along in the track. He's like kind of halfway around the first time through. So again, the Ceramic Cluster has a shorter time till they get to the exit. Well, I wasn't really worried. I just farmed as hard as possible, and that was pretty much it. Here is the final Ceramic Cluster. This one is the most dangerous one, seeing as that's the shortest time to travel, but even then, it wasn't really that bad. Reactor plus glue hose and ODS is a pretty good combo. And, well, that's tier 1 beaten fairly easily. Honestly, I could have beaten tier 1 sooner if I just gave up on top path glue and just went straight for reactor. So for tier 2, I was able to afford Sky Shredder, and I was hoping that Sky Shredder with pretty much almost no support was going to be enough to beat tier 2 Bloonarius. Looking at the damage now, it does seem that he can. Sky Shredder, I guess the main buff that it gets is the damage to the just 2 mob missiles that it fires. I think the 2 mob missiles do 150 damage. Don't quote me on that. I haven't read the Sky Shredder wiki in a while. Well, not like I read the Sky Shredder, not like I read the wiki for every tower in the game, but I do read the wiki for towers before, I guess, starting can tier buff towers challenge to see, you know, if it is, I guess, just kind of good enough. And it's been a while. So again, Sky Shredder easily able to be tier 2 and the ceramic clusters with almost no with pretty much no support. It's just really Alchemist and Village that's helping out. This is actually pretty good, as I was kind of, in my opinion, I was kind of far behind on the farm game. So this allows me to catch up, as you know, if I have an easier time with Bloonarius and don't have to spend money on support, I can just spend that money on, of course, farming. So that's what I did. So anyways, yeah, pretty much that's tier 2 of Bloonarius. Sky Shredder just easily shredded tier 2. So I guess, you know, Sky Shredder lives up to his name. Alright, so for tier 3 of Bloonarius, I actually ended up getting Ultra Boost. Why? Well, simply just because I figured that Ultra Boost would probably be better buff than Permabrew, as Ultra Boost increases the attack speed and of course gives a permanent but small attack speed buff. And really, I felt like it was the Moab missiles that was doing the most damage, and so I figured that, you know, the more missiles I had, the more damage I do, so that's why I get Ultra Boost. I got Ultra Boost on like around 79, just because I wanted to work on my stacks as early as possible. That did affect my farming game a lot, as you can see, since I had to save up 120k before round 80, just to get Ultra Boost. Yeah, I had to skip out on farms. But don't worry, I fortunately am able to, I guess, just come back from this. As again, I don't really need Ultra Boost for the rest of the round, so I can easily just sell it once Bloonarius is dead. So to get Permabrew, as I really wasn't liking the damage, I didn't feel like it was good enough at the moment. And also just because, you know, because Sky Shredder is being Ultra Boosted, the strongest stimulant buff is going to wear out way too fast, and so again, Permabrew, I guess, just kind of helps mitigate that. As you can see, the missiles are just kind of like missing, as they're just like kind of spinning around Bloonarius and not actually hitting him. So I guess there's that. So I ended up getting a Call to Arms just to kill Bloonarius a bit faster. And as you can see, you know, just like watching the darts from Sky Shredder is honestly just kind of cool and mesmerizing. It gets a lot better once the attack speed increase, you'll see later on. I wonder if there's like a mod to where you can just like increase attack speed by just like a lot, to the point to where, you know, Sky Shredder's like darts looks like it's not even like moving. I guess even now we're kind of at that point, you know, once like Homeland and all that stuff like being on, it really does kind of sort of look like the darts are at like a lower FPS than like everything else on screen, as you can see. So once Homeland wears off, you kind of see that anymore. But anyways, that's tier 3 Bloonarius beaten fairly easily. Again, like I said, in tier 1, it was the hardest of the tiers. When Sky Shredder, again, just easily annihilates Bloonarius. Alright, so for tier 4, as you can see, I did catch up from farming. I got Ultra Boost back and got, I think, all my stacks back as well. So in the middle, I have Super Brittle, and I'm getting up a Cripple Mob right now. I got a Monkeyopolis. It's a pretty small one, but, you know, I don't really need a huge Monkeyopolis. So there's that. I still have my marketplaces from the previous tiers, so I guess there's that. So I'm buying Attack Bond right now simply just because I have so many abilities and I just don't feel like spamming buttons right now, even though it's only like 2. So anyways, as you can see, the Sky Shredder damage, I guess, is fairly good for tier 4 yet again. This isn't really surprising, seeing as, you know, I figured that Sky Shredder would live up to its name. It would just shred the sky just like it's doing here. So again, there's that. And it's actually just like kind of melting through Bloonarius like butter. I was really surprised when doing this, just seeing how well, you know, Sky Shredder was doing, just like in general. I figured, you know, it'd probably be the same as like Flying Fortress, you know, it'd be like really close towards the end, and you know, ODS is worse than Spectre, so again, I figured it's a tier 1 would be just even harder. So I figured it'd be harder than Flying Fortress, but like just looking at this, it's just like insane, just like how easily Sky Shredder is just kind of like beating Bloonarius. And I don't even have my temple up yet. I'm still missing that buff. Although I guess, you know, it's like the last remaining buff. So again, Sky Shredder can't really get too much stronger from here, but you know, the temple buff is a pretty good buff, so I guess there's that. You know, honestly, it's just kind of pretty cool that I actually am able to do this. Unfortunately, this won't work on Elite. Sky Shredder cannot do enough damage no matter how much you try. So I ended up dying here just because I wasn't paying attention at all. If you saw there, I did die to the ZOMGs that Bloonarius spawn. I popped them down to mobs and couldn't pop the ceramics in time. Now here I was trying to sell everything to see if I could afford, see if I could actually afford True Sun God, because I figured, you know, why not? But unfortunately, that ended up being a no. So I just ended up getting everything back and just ended up trying again. Anyways, sort of back to where I left off. I'm starting off with me pausing, as if you see, I almost was like dead from leaking just ceramics. Thankfully, the lives I got from just bottom path farms was I could easily tank it. So I guess there's that. I ended up getting all tier 5 farms here simply just because I never really do. Monkeynomics isn't really used too much in like boss Bloons, or I guess it's not really just used too much in general. Simply just because I think that the ability, while it's cool, isn't really, I guess, I don't know, worth it. But I guess, you know, it is just kind of a hands-free way just to make like 10k. So anyways, here is, well, tier 5. As you can see, you got all my buffs up, True Sun God, and pretty much everything. Even like Glue Strike, or Glue Storm I think it's called, which I never really get. So I ended up putting it on Wing Monkey simply just because, you know, I wasn't really sure if Sky Shredder could beat tier 5. I figured that, you know, maybe I could do a lot better if Sky Shredder was just kind of like on top of Bloonarius. Yes, I do realize that there have apparently been tests have been done that shows that Wing Monkey does reduce your damage output, but I figured, you know, just kind of, why not? It does seem to be doing, I guess, just fairly decently here, and I guess this really can't really be a super buff if I don't get every buff. One buff I almost forgot about was Carrier Flagship. Yeah. I never really go for Carrier Flagship. I didn't get Carrier Flagship for Flying Fortress. I probably would have made it a lot easier, but you know, there was no water on Cornfield, and I did kind of forget about the buff. The buff to Monkey Aces isn't really something that you really remember, as I can't imagine someone getting Carrier Flagship only to buff their Monkey Ace, unless they're like, I don't know, getting Spectre or something, but that's kind of whatever. So anyways, as you can see here, this guy sure does have more than enough in him in order to beat Bloonarius, and that's kind of surprising. Just seeing like just the sheer amount of missiles that just Sky Shredder is just firing is just like absolutely insane. And the darts are just like melting pretty much just everything. Even like fortified ZOMGs don't stand too much of a chance against, you know, just against Sky Shredder. And so it is kind of pretty cool to see. I never really like Ghost Sky Shredder too often. When I do, it's usually like in Chimps mode, and again, you know, you don't really like super buff Sky Shredder like this in Chimps mode because there's no way you're gonna be able to afford all this support. But anyways, I guess just kind of there's that. So if you enjoyed the video, you know, like, comment, subscribe, join Discord. Link is down in the description below. So I guess that's pretty much that. I don't have anything more to say about, I guess, just Sky Shredder annihilating Bloonarius, so I guess I'll just kind of leave you with that. So as you'll see in a few seconds, you know, Sky Shredder did end up doing the most damage at a whopping 14 million pops.